Okay, so for your, one of the things you have to do today is you have to create a wash of a color over your sphere drawing that you did. So if you haven't done this yet, the sphere drawing, like this, do this first. Then you can go ahead and do the wash. So you guys can see the difference. It might be subtle, but this one is light pink. This one is just pencil on the paper. So what you guys are going to do is you're basically going to put a thinned layer of paint, the same color as whatever your background is, on your still life over your sphere drawing. And we want the paint to be so thin that we can actually see the lines of your sketch through it. So in order to do that, we have to water down the paint a little bit and just put a thin layer on your sphere sketch. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So this is the end product. And this doesn't take very long. But I've got my setup here. So here is my sphere drawing. Make sure that if you don't have your name written on the tape for your sphere drawing, because a lot of these are going to start to look the same, make sure that you go ahead and write down your name right there. All right, and then what you're going to need is you are going to mix the same color paint as your background for your still life. So if you're not sure, because I know some of you guys are deciding between colors for your background, you can just do any color you want. But if you know what color you want your background to be, like me, I know I want to keep it this like light pink, go ahead and mix that color. Now, I got a little crazy with the paint. You really don't need this much of it, but mix it in the center part of this because we're going to mix it with a little bit of water to water it down. So all I do is, after I mix my color for my background, I'm going to dip into my water cup and I'm going to leave water on my brush. I'm going to almost like scoop some water into here. I'm going to start to mix it up. And what you're looking for is, and it might not be easy to tell from the video, but you're just looking for a thinner consistency of paint. I'm only mixing it on the side. But yeah, just looking for a thinner consistency of paint, something that feels like it might be a little bit more transparent and a little bit watered down. So I feel like I've got a good consistency right here. The reason I'm not mixing it into the whole thing is just in case I go a little too watery with this side, I can always pull in more of the paint that doesn't have water in it. So try not to mix the water in completely. It shouldn't look like watercolor, like it shouldn't be totally liquidy, where, you know, you can barely see the color. All right, and then once you have that, you can start to paint over the entire thing. So try to use a bigger brush, it'll go by faster. And it may get a little streaky, which is okay. You can start to kind of fix that as you go on. You really only need to do like one layer, but I do like to go across and then I go up and down with my brush strokes just to thin out these lines. Now, if you feel like your lines are getting too covered, you still want to be able to see them, but they will, you know, get a little bit lighter. So if you feel like the paint is covering over your lines, that means you need to add more water. So some of you guys that have really dark background colors, like those of you, if you're doing black or like a dark brown, you're going to add a lot of water to your paint. Make sure you can still see your lines coming through. I'm going to go up and down like this. And you don't want to overwork the paper because the more water that gets added to this paper and the more times you kind of like pull your brush over it, it'll start to disintegrate just a little bit. So just real gentle with it. But it should look something like this when you're done. If yours is a little streaky, that's okay, no big deal. But you're gonna do that kind of wash on your background of either the color of your background. So again, mine was pink. Or if you don't know what color you want your background to be, you can do any color. You Usually neutral colors are good if you're not sure what color you want your background to be. So like a tan or a brown, a really light brown, or kind of like an orangey color would work, or yellow. But this is just a practice one. So it's totally fine if you don't end up, you know, doing the same color on your final painting. But we are going to use a similar process on our final painting. So just wanted to practice it with you guys before we move on to the final painting. When you're done with this, almost forgot. When you're done with this, keep it in your tote tray. Make sure nothing else is on top of it. Let it dry. But that's it.